Hi, hello, and welcome back. Or if you're new here, welcome. My name is Heather. This is Miss Finn. And this is the fourth video in my weekly series of undergoing treatment with Spravato. For those of you who are new, quick background on me. I've had treatment-resistant depression for over 20 years and recently began treatment with Spravato. Spravato, or esketamine, is an FDA-approved treatment for treatment-resistant depression. It's a dissociative anesthetic, meaning it causes dissociation, and I also have a dissociative disorder. Before I began treatment, I had a really hard time finding first-hand accounts from people who had undergone this treatment and couldn't find any from people who also have dissociative disorders. So in this series, I share my experience of undergoing treatment, as well as some tips and tricks that I learned along the way, and just kind of my thoughts about the treatment and my progress overall. I actually don't have anything to add to the tips and tricks list this week, but I'll put the list up here so that you can take notes if you want to. In my week 3 video, I go in depth about why I have these recommendations for treatment, so you'll want to check that out. As usual, I want to give my disclaimer. I am not a medical or mental health professional of any kind. These are just my own recommendations based on my experience as a regular person undergoing this treatment. And just keep in mind that my experiences could be totally different from yours. Also, I forgot to ask this before, but if you've undergone this treatment and have any tips and tricks that you'd like to share, please do so in the comments and I'll probably add them to the list. I actually got one on the week 3 video from George, who suggested trying wearing sunglasses instead of an eye mask. Pretty good idea. I think I'm going to try that out. But that's enough introduction for now. Let's move on to the treatments. For treatment number 7, I had the amazing nurse again. I'm going to be referring to her a lot in the future, so from now on, I'm going to call her Alice. Not her real name. After my 3rd dose, she put the videos from my playlist on the TV for me to listen to. For those of you who haven't seen my previous videos, Alice is the one who recommended these particular videos that I used during each treatment. After my playlist was done, instead of me putting on music, she put on a guided visualization of a walk through the woods. Because I did this guided visualization, I didn't go off elsewhere. I think I'm going to try to upload an edited version of it because the first 10 minutes or so is just the lady talking about what guided visualization is and what it's useful for, and not really the kind of thing we're here for during treatment. I don't really have anything to share as far as what I saw, other than that it was a very pleasant walk through the woods, and this was by far the most sublime and blissful experience during treatment that I have had yet. My experience during this treatment really emphasized to me how there's really a spectrum of possibilities for the experience and how crucial set and setting are to your experience. My treatments with her have been worlds above what the other treatments have been like. It's like the difference between getting a really weak, kind of half-assed massage versus a really good deep tissue massage. She has a very calming presence and demeanor, and she's very attentive to my needs all throughout treatment and seems to just know what I need psychologically to have a really great experience during the treatment. And she's very knowledgeable about depression and anxiety and CBT and DBT and just all of that kind of stuff. So I decided to try and switch as many of my future appointments as possible to be with Alice. As soon as I got home, I went to email the clinic about rescheduling my future treatments to be with Alice. And I first looked her up on the website because I wanted to make sure I spelled her name right. Again, her name's not really Alice. And that's when I found out she's not just a tech. She's actually a nurse. And not only is she an ARNP, but she's also a board-certified psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, which means she can assess, diagnose, and treat mental health needs through things like psychotherapy, counseling, and prescribing medications. Definitely makes sense to me now why she knows so much about this stuff and what I specifically need to manage my mental health conditions during and outside of treatment. Definitely seems like there's a pattern with my treatments because treatment number 8 was okay. If you haven't seen my other videos, I've seemed to have a pattern going on where I have one treatment that's really great and one that's either not so great or just kind of meh as far as the experience. For this treatment, I was with another new tech, or new to me. We go back to the treatment room and they took my blood pressure and my pulse was over 100 again. I told them that's exactly what happened during my 6th treatment, and that once the nurse took my pulse manually, it was 98, which still high, but I was having anxiety by that point. So this time, rather than waiting a few minutes and trying it with the cuff again, the nurse just took my pulse manually, and it was 66. So something's going on with the blood pressure cuffs. As we were doing my doses, I was talking to them about how I really wanted to have as many of my future appointments as possible with Alice, and how I haven't been able to get a hold of anyone to make those changes. Luckily for me, this new tech is the one who does the scheduling. And she was like, oh, I can take care of that for you right now. So I was pretty excited about that. After my 3rd dose, I kicked back, put on my playlist, and just tried to ease into the treatment. But my health anxiety, what if they were wrong about my pulse? Is something bad going to happen to me? Am I going to have a heart attack? Why? I could sense my amygdala just creeping towards that panic button, but I kept telling myself, I'm fine. I've done this, 7 times before. I did it on Saturday when my pulse was high and I was fine. I'm fine. So I was managing to keep myself from having a panic attack. But as things were really getting going, the tech kept asking me questions about scheduling. I already got the go-ahead from my boyfriend to change him to whatever days and times I needed to be with Alice, because he's the one who takes me to and from these appointments. He can't drive. But even though I'd gotten the all clear from him, I was still worried about it. I don't know, maybe there were things in his schedule that he wasn't thinking of when he told me it was fine. I don't know. So I found myself rather preoccupied with thoughts and worries about the scheduling. It wasn't a bad experience, but I didn't hit the sweet spot either. I didn't see much either. Occasionally I would see what looked like cells and microbes under a microscope. I also kept seeing this thing. I don't want to spoil anything by saying what it is or where it's from, because if you know, you know. At one point, the question came up in my mind of, do I really think this treatment is working and that it's worth it? It's a question I've often asked with antidepressants, and I've never really been able to tell if they're working because, of course, I have treatment-resistant depression, so they don't. But with Spravato, the answer is a resounding yes. And in that moment, I felt so grateful for having been able to do this treatment. And I actually felt a twinge of fear at the possibility of, what if I hadn't done this? Where would I be now? And how would I be feeling now? It was just very clear to me that I do feel noticeably better. I really do. After about 45 minutes, I had to use the bathroom. And actually, the tech told me that's really common for people to have to use the bathroom about halfway through the treatment. So I'm not an anomaly there. By this point, I was mostly back to normal, which not surprising because I'd been having anxiety the whole time. After I got home, I made myself some lunch, and 3 hours later, was totally back to normal and took my dose of Adderall. I finished the week 3 update and got that uploaded, so that was really good. It dawned on me that since starting Spravato, I've been very regularly preparing and cooking meals for myself, which I haven't been able to do that in years. So again, just another sign to me that this stuff is working. I had therapy the next day, and I told my therapist about how I'm really worried that my depression is going to start getting worse because we're moving into the fall and winter months. He told me that from his experience, a lot of people who undergo these more experimental or non-traditional forms of treatment for depression report that the really noticeable and enduring effects from these treatments occur as a result of the transformative experiences they have during the treatments. Like my gondola experience from week 2, my therapist meditates regularly, and he told me that a classic mistake that people who are new to meditation make is that they'll be doing meditation and then suddenly they will have a really profound and amazing experience during meditation, and from then on go into each meditation expecting to have or trying to have the same kind of experience, and that it almost never happens because they're trying to have a certain kind of experience. He advised me to go into these treatments just trusting that my brain knows what it's ready for and what it needs, and to just allow whatever is going to happen. And looking back, that's exactly how I ended up having the gondola experience. It was right in the beginning of treatments where I didn't know what to expect and just kind of let whatever was going to happen. It also coincides with what I experienced last week of trying to force or forge that kind of experience and it not really working. And that nothing really happened until I just let go, let whatever is going to happen. So I guess that is something I should add to the tips and tricks list. Don't go into it trying to have a particular experience. Just trust that your brain knows what it needs and allow whatever is going to happen. I forgot to mention before that the tech was able to switch almost all of my future appointments to be with Alice, so I'm very hopeful that I will get to have those kinds of experiences again. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, the gondola experience happened the first time I was with Alice, so that's good news. My therapist also said that he notices a difference in me, that I'm much more expressive when I talk and just seem happier, which that was nice to hear. I mean, I don't really notice a difference, but I'll take his word for it that he does. After therapy, my plan was to finish editing the Nice People episode on depression that I keep talking about. I've spent the last few weeks exclusively filming and editing these videos, and I'm pretty used to seeing myself talking at this point. Well, I recorded the footage for the depression episode before I started Spravato, and wow, I noticed a huge difference between how I came across then versus how I do now. In the depression video footage, I look so lifeless compared to now. It's not that I look bad, I just come across very flat. I really want to finish this depression episode, so I just tried to roll with it, but I'll just be honest with you guys. I was bored editing that footage. I really tried to just set my perfectionism aside and maintain that done is better than perfect, but it was unbearable, really. Eventually, I realized that if I was someone clicking on that video, I wouldn't watch it. And that ultimately my goal isn't just to put things out there for the sake of putting it out there. It's to make things that are informative and engaging and entertaining. And I feel like I owe you guys more than what that video was shaping up to be. So, I'm recording the whole thing again. My goal is to have this video and the depression video both done this week, but unfortunately, I think I'll be starting my period this week, so we'll see if my PMDD derails that whole plan. I didn't have any PMDD symptoms last time, so fingers crossed. I think that does it for this video. If you liked this video, please consider liking it, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to keep getting these updates from me in the future. Also, don't forget to turn on notifications so that you'll know as soon as I do post another video. As always, if you have any questions or comments for me, leave them in the comments and I will respond to them. Also, if you have any tips and tricks for treatment that you'd like to share, please do so in the comments and I'll probably add them to the list. And with that, I hope you have a great week and I'll be seeing you next week. Say goodbye, Finn. Okay, bye.